Hello again, my name is Elen Krut and today is July 1st. And today we have a pleasure speaking to Biju Koshy. Without any further delays, Biju, I'm just gonna take it to you. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do and how many years you've been practicing and where?
Sure. Hi, Ellen. My name is Biju Koshy. I'm a solo practitioner. Basically a general practice that focuses primarily on criminal and white collar defense. I also have a few other areas like guardianship, some family law, and some civil litigation. But the lion's share of my work is mostly in criminal defense. I have been practicing now for, oh boy, 14 years, all in New York State. And yeah, and I'm primarily based in Staten Island. I also have a office in Lower Manhattan.
And that's very impressive. So I just want to go back 3 months because today we are in July. So this is we are in stage 2, and at this point, I guess the law offices have permission to resume the operation carefully with social distancing. But going back 3 months, when the executive orders were just issued, can you just let me know what went through your head? How did you cope with it? How did you take it? What did you do?
So when it first happened, there was absolutely a lot of fear, anxiety, and confusion about what was going on and how we were going to handle it. And I try to put myself in my client's shoes and realize if I was feeling like that, then they're feeling that 100 times, that same feeling. And especially because, as you just mentioned, it's only recently that the attorneys have been given kind of permission to reopen offices and things like that. And we were not declared essential workers at the outset. One of the primary parts of my practice is in criminal defense representation, and there's a huge part of that frankly is essential because we're dealing with clients who have been arrested and especially clients that are imprisoned awaiting trial. And so there's a lot of work that needs to get done to ensure their due process rights are carried out. And so we didn't know how we were going to get through those things.
And so, how was your practice affected from day one? Can you describe the day one? Were you in court when the executive orders, stay-home orders, were issued, or where were you? What did you when you heard it? What happened?
I recall on Friday, March 13th, I had gone to court for an appearance, and that was when it wasn't. I don't know if it was officially stated that these orders were going to be implemented, but I remember the courthouse being pretty empty. We were already social distancing in the courtroom, and it was the last day that I had been present in court, and that was in Richmond County Supreme Court. At that time, we didn't know how it was going to move forward at that point. After that court appearance, that was the last time I've been to court, for the past several months. And my office, after that date, was closed. I share a receptionist and paralegal with another attorney, and she had not been returning to the office for some time, and we essentially closed our doors for a significant portion of time. We were working from home and making phone calls, doing video conferences when possible, but not having formal processes with the courts until just a few weeks ago.
Okay, and do you like teleconferencing? Have you been able to do a Zoom video conference with court? I understand you've been doing that with your colleagues and opposing counsel, but what about courts?
So yes and no. I do like video conferences where it's basically status conferences or informal off-the-record conferences to just kind of move things along, because they've been a necessity to further some cases, because things have just been especially the first 2 months, kind of languishing, right, without any court intervention. So when it's just the opposing counsel and perhaps the judge and the court attorney, we can get some things done. The first few weeks, technology was a bit of an issue, and there was a little bit of back and forth. You had to have the right programs downloaded. Sometimes audio cuts in and cuts out. That's still to this day, audio cuts in and cuts out. It's a little bit more difficult with clients. I just did a guardianship hearing yesterday where, there were about 15 people involved on the call and Skype, and numerous people were just calling in, and there's a lot of confusion about who's speaking whether when the client's on the phone, you don't get that same feeling you do when you're in a court part, seeing and hearing from the judge about what's happening on your case, when you're probably filled with anxiety and want some sort of guidance. So I try the best that I can to prepare the clients about what's going to happen as much as I can, but it's not ideal for sure. One thing moving forward is that for some of these court conferences, it would be beneficial to do them by Skype rather than for private practitioners sitting around in court from 9 a.m. till waiting for your case to get called till 12 or 12:30. It's not ideal when you can have a time certain Skype conference at 11, be done with the whole thing in 10 minutes. It's very effective.
And I would also imagine the distance. Let's say somebody has to commute a long way to upstate, that would be a solution. But like you said, a lot of litigants, right now I'm speaking to you and my icon lights up when I speak, and then it lights up when you speak. So imagine 16 people, like the app is going to go crazy. Absolutely. So absolutely. So I definitely see challenges, but what helped you personally to adjust to, as you said, you had to download programs and you had to start using them. So what helped you? How did you get there?
It's one of those things where it helps to be disciplined so that you have a task list each day of things that you're going to work on and things that you need to get done. I have a great paralegal who is helping me through some of these things, and also a vibrant local legal community. There were local attorneys, whether in the bar association or friends of mine, that we would text each other or call each other and say, hey, how are you doing this? What's the best way to do this? How do you file an online motion in criminal court when there's no e-filing? How are you doing this? And so we're trying not to recreate the wheel. It's kind of getting passed down from person to person. And then sometimes the judges themselves were the ones saying, look, I'm putting out this may not be the official rules, but I want to try to help the attorneys and the litigants. And so you can just email us documents directly and things like that. So there was a lot of figuring out on your own and pooling our knowledge together to figure out how to get things done.
And now you mentioned the Bar Association. How, if any way, did the Bar Association help you during this time?
It was a huge help. As you know, we're colleagues in Staten Island. So we have the Richmond County Bar Association, which we're both a part of. Over the numerous weeks that this pandemic has been going on, there have been many, different rules being issued out of different courts, whether it's Richmond County, Kings, Manhattan, surrogates court, family court, criminal court, civil court, and your head can spin if you're just trying to navigate that on your own. The Bar Association was very good about issuing regular emails to the practitioner saying, look, there is a new filing procedure that's going to be done on certain cases, or they're opening up appearances by Skype in these parts. Here's the matrimonial rules for how they're going to go forward. And that was tremendously helpful because, I might try to, myself go onto the court's website and, try to navigate and figure out certain things, but it's so much easier to search your email and figure out, okay, here's that email from the Bar Association that said how to handle my matrimonial conferences that are coming up and which judges are doing that. So, the fact that they took the time to compile all that data together as a clearinghouse and send it out to the attorneys, it was during this time that, in the future, I can tell my other colleagues, like, look, you want a selling point for being involved in a local bar association when we were in the midst of, kind of this upheaval during the pandemic. It was absolutely worth it to be part of that organization.
I agree with you. Now, if we go back 3 months, would you have done anything differently about your adjustment or how you approach certain things, or what advice you would give to other people now, knowing that you know that now that you went through the initial stage?
Oh boy. It's difficult to think back and figure that out because we are, I would love to say that we're in a place where the dust is cleared and we're back to normal, but we're still not. Um, you know, I can't think about any missteps that I did apart from, um, I wish that I could have gotten back to the office a little sooner. While technology wise we can do a lot from the house, especially with in criminal cases, most of it is still all on paper and videos and things like that, and it's not all electronic at this point. So it's a little bit more difficult to work on. I think maybe getting in touch with uh, the prosecutors on criminal cases a lot sooner. I didn't realize how long these statutes would be suspended, because it's a very significant thing to suspend speedy trial rights and grand jury in the state of New York, and that really affects how how soon a case can go on for. I have several clients who have cases that probably would have been dismissed because of with CPL 3030, but they haven't because everything's been suspended. And so these are people who, there may be the person who's a home health aide that needs their license, and a criminal case can interfere with that. There may be a family that's kind of split apart because of an order of protection in place that would have been dismissed by now, that continues to keep that family apart. There may be somebody who has a felony charge that perhaps by now the witnesses, if they decided not to come to the grand jury, the prosecutor would have reduced it to a misdemeanor or even dismissed the case altogether, and we would have resolved it by now. But instead, cases like that are all still remaining on the calendars with very little accomplished. So I think if anything, it would be somehow calendaring them with the courts to do early intervention conferences to see what we can do to move these forward.
Okay. And I guess let me clarify. My last question, I still want to go and discuss personal approach, because yes, being proactive and knowing what we know now, a lot of times I tell myself, if I go back 10 years and if I know what I know now, so what advice would you give yourself and others with regard to, I guess, adapting, adjusting to all this? Because as we said in the beginning of this interview, this was scary.
Yes. There's so many factors that go into that. Just from, you said from a personal experience, for young families, like I have a 3-year-old at home, and it's very, there are just natural challenges to getting work done, especially court conferences when you have judges and opposing counsel and things like that, and you have children that want your time as well. So it's been there are definitely practical limitations of how much work an attorney can get done at home. There's a lot we miss as attorneys from naturally networking in the courthouse and just being creatures of social existence, things like that. But as to the day-to-day, I would definitely recommend attorneys, I had alluded to before, but having the discipline of, setting up each day before you start even reading your emails is huge, because the second you open your inbox, especially when we're working at home like this and everyone's working from home and sending emails, by the time you get to the 4th email, your whole day has been derailed because you're working on other things that you hadn't planned on. So having a task list is really important. And so that you can kind of accomplish those goals, and also setting times for when you should and should not work. It's we're just the fact that we are working from home. Oftentimes we kind of force ourselves to work on the weekends and late at night and things like that, and sometimes it's out of necessity. Like I said, when if my daughter's taking a nap, then I have some more time to work, or working late at night. But at the same time, for attorney well-being and mental health, it's good to have those breaks of when you can shut off your mind and say, no, this is my time, this is my family time. Let me, take a break from work. So that took a while to get adjusted to, because for a while, it was just, okay, I'm just going to work when the work comes in, and I'm going to answer every email as it comes in at the time, and it's not good for you as a practitioner or a human being.
Thank you. Now, Biju, I don't have any more questions, but if you have anything else that you would like to add.
There's basically that we've gained some good things from this. Like I said, having those Skype conferences with judges and things of those, if we can take some of that, those are going to help in the future. It's also good to realize the limitations that we have in still bringing all the courts online, and the way we do filings and things of that nature. But we realize also how much we do depend on having that person-to-person contact. Grand juries and jury trials and things like that. I don't know what the solution is, and from a day-to-day basis, as much as we'd like to do things online, it'll be good to be back in person, having bar association meetings and networking opportunities and things like that, because as a solo practitioner, we kind of rely on that as a part of building your business, and you can't do it as much online as you can when we're all face-to-face again. So it's been a challenge, but we'll try to see the silver lining in things, and move forward with what we've learned from all this, and hopefully we won't be in this position again, but if we are, we'll be much better prepared.
That's great. Biju, thank you so much for taking your time and doing this interview.
I appreciate the time. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.